up and sit down.
Alright. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of More Content Talk. That's the only show that cuts through the glam, the glitz, and all the bullshit to bring you the truthiest news that we can find. Today, I'm going to be talking about workplace safety. First of all, just let me say that I know you've never seen this backdrop before, but there's a terrible storm right now where I live in the Bay Area that is just blowing everything around, so we can't be outside for probably like a week. So anything that we record is going to be indoors. So just that side note. But as I said, I'm going to be talking about workplace safety, specifically in regard to teachers in this episode. If you watch this show, you probably know that, or listen to the show, you know that I used to be a teacher. So when it comes to teachers, there were already various problems with workplace safety before COVID-19 pandemic. It's really not safe to be a teacher in the United States of America. I'm sure that there are plenty of pristine teaching jobs at colleges, universities, even private schools, even though that's not necessarily always the case. But when it comes to the public school system, it's basically a system that doesn't care about teachers. Teachers are kind of left to fend for themselves, especially if you're not in the union. If you don't have that union power, you have no power as a teacher whatsoever. You're basically expected to do everything apart from wiping these children's asses. The parents do practically nothing when it comes to making sure that their children follow rules, that they're respectful of the teacher and the teacher's health. These irresponsible parents send their sick children to school all the time, even when there's not a pandemic, and you better goddamn believe that they're going to do it during a pandemic. And we have evidence that they're doing that during pandemics, because obviously the only reason the public school system even exists is a glorified babysitting service. This is not serious education. All indicators point to the fact that the United States fails miserably when it comes to education. So this isn't about educating students. It's not about saving children's lives or preventing abuse or anything that they're advertising for. They just want their cheap labor back. They just want teachers who, don't have any other position. They have no other job. They have no other options to be forced to basically serve these, people who they feel that going to work and making money is the only thing that's important. The parents were upset from the beginning when the teachers were told not to go in. This is not new. They're saying, well, it's been long enough. Diseases don't care about your job. They don't care about your life. They don't care about your aspirations, your social life. It's all bupkis to the disease, to the virus. And people know this, but they don't give a shit, right? So they're basically going around the board, guilt-tripping teachers, trying to make them feel bad so that they'll rush off back to work. I saw a hilarious article the other day with this lady, I guess, who was a teacher, who was saying, well, it's the teacher's responsibility, they're what is it called? Essential to the functioning of society. Let me explain something to you. Your society sucks. Okay? Your society does not function properly already. Don't come around here starting to blame teachers who, are being cautious and they're scared and they have their own families and their own children that they need to take care of. So you had to step up and you had to take care of your kids, and all you did was bitch about it. No one feels sorry for you except maybe these, asshole politicians who want your donations. They're the only ones who really care about getting kids back to school, and that's the reason. Because I don't buy it. I don't buy that schools are a safe haven for abuse victims. I've heard that a lot. I've heard that talking point thrown around a lot. Let me tell you something. A lot of kids get abused in schools every day, and no one does anything about it. Okay? So you're lying. I know you're lying. I used to work in the school system. I reported abuse constantly. It was ignored. It was looked over. the administrators are always taking the side of the parents. They never listen to the teachers who report abuse. They report abuse all the time. That's true. But there's never any follow through. No one ever does anything about it. So this idea that the school must be open to prevent abuse is preposterous. They don't prevent abuse. And I understand that maybe in extreme situations, if this kid is walking into class and they got a bunch of bruises and blood all over him, yeah, the administrator has to do something at that point. But there's other kinds of abuse. Like, a lot of times you see kids come into school and they're not fed properly, or they're complaining of hunger pains, or maybe they're passing out. And it's always assumed that it's the child's fault. It's always assumed, hey, well, why didn't you eat enough? Well, they didn't eat enough because their parents are starving them to death. That's why they didn't eat enough. But do we hear that in the news? No. What we hear is that, well, you know, this dumb kid didn't eat and so they passed out. So what abuse are you preventing exactly? I call bullshit on that. I don't think that public schools prevent any abuse. I think, if anything, they might encourage abuse a little bit. And listen, you're talking about school, right? You remember school? Did you go to school when you were a kid? Or are you just are you from another planet? A school is a safe haven from abuse. What about bullying? What about that? That's abuse. And if you go to these schools, it's like you're on some sort of prison camp, like grounds. There's nothing but fights and shouting and name calling, and throwing stuff at each other, and this is base animalistic behavior. And you're talking about this being some sort of safe haven. Schools are like jungles. You don't know what's going to happen. Someone might shoot someone. Someone might attack someone in the middle of a class. I taught a class one time where that happened. Someone just jumped on, just because they were making fun of it, just started beating the crap out of this other kid. I had to, get him off, call the office. All it was they were just going to take him to the office. Okay, you have to go to the office now. Yeah, they got out of class. So what? That doesn't prevent anything. That doesn't teach them that anything is wrong. You know what it teaches them? It teaches them that if you want to get out of some shit you don't want to do, just start a fucking ruckus. Just tear some shit up. And that's what they get taught. And that's why they come out of school. They come out of this supposedly superior, moral system. And then they end up in the prison system. And a lot of kids end up in juvie. White kids too. It's not just kids of color. Anyone who's unhappy with that system, which is a rigid system, which does not allow for much freedom, becomes an abuser within the system. And that can happen to the administration. It could happen to some of these, exceptionally violent teachers who lose it and start screaming at the top of their lungs at kids. And that's a form of abuse too. That causes trauma. When I was a kid, I had a teacher like that, scared me out to death, all because I got a C-. He had to read my grade in front of everyone. It's very demeaning. And so this is the safe haven that you want to send your children to. And you hate school. You hated school when you were in school. I know, now, you got a suit, and so you got to say certain things like education is important, and if we don't have education, then the whole world will end. And I just laugh at you because we have plenty of education in this country. This is the most educated nation. We spend more money on education, things like education, healthcare, than most nations. But we don't spend it in the right places. So it doesn't matter if you have an education in America. It's completely pointless. The only thing you might be able to get is a bit more money, and that's it. And everyone knows that, and that's why everyone wants a college degree. They don't want a college degree because they want to go write philosophy books or because they want to save the world. They want a college degree because they're going to get $5 more extra an hour. And that's it. And so you turn your whole supposed, enlightened, rational, logical education system into a money-making scheme. And that's all it is now. And so no one is interested, especially not teachers, in risking their lives for that. You don't stand for anything. No one's going to want to risk their life for you or your child. I will never go back to teaching. It's the worst profession in the United States of America today, including septic tank cleaners, including, fast food workers. You stand a better chance at teaching someone at Jack in the Box than you do at a public school. And that's just I'm sorry, like I'm ashamed of it. I worked in the public school system. I tried to do what I could to teach those kids, to try to make them want to learn. And that's the thing. Public school educators do not understand that you have to make children want to learn. They don't come in there wanting to learn. And so, you're sitting there and you're listing off all the standards that you've been told by your bureaucratic administrators that are important, which is just nothing but a list of rules on how to maintain a job. It becomes boring after a couple of years, and the trouble starts, and children lash out, just as you see caged animals do in situations where they feel confined, they feel that they're not free. You start to see repetitive behaviors. This is when you start to get all kinds of mental health issues like OCD, ADD, could all be linked just to the simple fact that you send your child to a prison every day. Every day of their life except for the weekend. And then you expect them to just be the happiest, well-adjusted children. All of these motherfuckers who are conspiracy theorists, all these motherfuckers who are white nationalists, all these motherfuckers who join terrorist organizations and cults, they all went to the public school system. Every single goddamn last one of them. All the murderers, all the rapists, all the thieves that you hate so much, that you say have no goodness in them whatsoever. All these people who you hate, they all came out of the same goddamn system that you did. You just got lucky. You got lucky. You got rich. And so you're not like that. And so that's all it is. And, also too, there are some people who are just natural suck-ups. They don't want to go against authority. They don't challenge the teacher when they're obviously wrong, which teachers are wrong a lot. They are. I'm sorry, but it's just the truth. Because the textbooks are incorrect a lot of times, so they're wrong a lot of times. And so no one challenges these people. And these are the people who are rewarded, the people who just sit there and listen. And then they get a pat on the head and say they get a good job. You get you give your apple to the teacher. You suck up. And yeah, of course, they're going to leave you alone. Not everyone is designed to be a suck up. Not everyone is born with their lips surgically attached to an authority figure's ass. I know that's how you want the world to be. I know you want good little boys and girls to just obey. Because that's what helped me, right? That's how I got where I am, just kissing and licking ass. That's how I got. Just open your mouth and put your tongue on their asshole and you'll have millions of dollars in no time. Well, not everyone is going to do it. And so what's the point of sending these kids, right, who you've already abandoned, you've already doomed to a life of mediocrity anyway? What's the point of sending them there so that it could be more mediocre than the other mediocre kids? I don't know. But it's pretentious and it's nonsensical. Because now we've had promises from both the Biden and the Trump administrations that these schools would follow protocol, that they would protect the teachers at all costs. And what are they doing? I see it all the time. They allow these kids to just come in there. They don't have masks on. You hear all kinds of reports from teachers of how they had their mask on when they came in the morning, and then they're taking them off throughout the day. Not everyone has had their vaccines by far. I think the last I said 25% of the nation is vaccinated. What is wrong with you people? It's gonna start another community spread. And we already have community spread in Michigan. And it's gonna come here too, again. It's just arrogance. So the teachers are still striking. And they're gonna continue to strike, especially the teachers in the union. And the teachers who do not have unions are going to quit. And then you're gonna be left with your dick in your hands. And you're going to look like a real fucking asshole. And then you're going to be forced to pay teachers more. And then you're really going to be up shit's creek because you don't have the money to do it. And you're too cheap. And, these PTA, these parent-teacher associations, they're not going to do anything about giving teachers more money. You already lost 25%, a quarter of last year's teachers. They've already moved on to other professions, including me. Gone. I'm never going back. And I guarantee you, there are many, many, many teachers like that who have just been so disgusted by the COVID pandemic and how they were treated and how they just had to, you know, suck it up and be a hero, even though when you become a teacher, you're not an athlete, you're not trying to be a hero, you're not a politician. You become a teacher because you want a secure job. They can't even give them that. You're gonna be left with a very reduced teaching force. And remember, when your child, you're you know, you with your rich ass, you got all this money, and you can't find a school that won't have less than 50 students per class, apart from these very expensive schools that are teaching, like, you know, Christian theocracy. When you can't find that, don't complain, because you brought it on yourself. That should shock and terrify you. 25% of last year's teachers are gone, never going to teach again. What is the future of your student in such a system? And why do you continue to be so selfish? Those are the things that you should ask yourself. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here on More Content Talk. If you'd like, you can go ahead and subscribe to our show or our YouTube channel. You can also sponsor us on Anchor. You could also check us out on Instagram at More Content Talk, and you can also follow us on More_Content PLS on Twitter. Have a wonderful day, evening, night, whatever, and remember, you should really be nicer to teachers, because if you don't, you're screwing over yourself and your kids. All right, take it easy.